We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.
Good morning and welcome to the Monday edition of Free Association Radio. I'm your host, Robert Phoenix. This is the Monday mashup, and it's where I free associate and rant and rave and mash up the topics or the news of the day. I guess maybe it could be a smoothie versus a mashup. I mean, you do blend a lot of different things in a smoothie. Smoothies are actually really good for you. Maybe I should call this the Monday smoothie instead, so that you can feel better about all the ingredients that you hear over the course of 60 minutes. But until I officially change it to the Monday smoothie doesn't really have the same kind of ring to it as Monday mashup does it? So maybe we'll just keep it the mashup for a while. Anyway, today on this version of the show, I'm going to have Marc Daniels join me in about 8 minutes. And Marc Daniels is a friend, and he's also an artist and a musician. He's a poet. He's a troubadour. That's what Marc is. And he has a new record out, Game of Desire. If you go to the show page, where you're actually listening to me right now for the next, 12 hours or so, you'll be able to download his record for free. This is one of the perks for listening to this radio show, this program. So you can get his entire record for free. I think it's on iTunes, but for you, it's right here, right now. Instant gratification. Game of Desire. We'll have Marc on in a few short minutes. We'll talk about his record. We'll talk about the creative process and all that stuff that goes along with being an artist and trying to have some meaningful relationship with your art in the 21st century. If you listen to the Friday program with Jay Widener, we talked about how challenging it is to actually monetize content now, especially physical content, CDs, books, DVDs, etc. All the media is being sucked up into a cloud, and as a result of that, it's not easy to be a full-time musician or artist. So I'm not sure if that's what he wants to be anyway. We'll find out more about that when he's here live with you. We'll play a couple of clips and we'll talk about the record. It's been 48 hours, 72 hours now, I think almost 72 hours since what happened in Aurora, Colorado. It's pretty tragic. but there are, as always, lots of unanswered questions. And I don't have time to get into it today because of, we have Mark scheduled to be on the show. And I may not have time to get into it that much on Wednesday, although I might, because a lot of what I'm seeing is very related to Jupiter and Gemini. And I'll go into greater detail with that on Wednesday. Some of the parallels that I've been seeing here with Jupiter and Gemini are just mind-popping. So I think I'll probably get into that. I'll probably dedicate maybe the first half hour of the show to talk about it because it's worth talking about, especially from that angle. And then Friday, boys and girls, is the start of the Olympics. And I think I'm going to be doing a live shot. The Olympics start, the opening ceremonies start, I believe, at 7:30 London time. Now, I'm not sure if the opening ceremonies are going to be shown live or they'll be tape delayed. And we'll see them later that evening here on NBC. If I can find a live feed, what I'll do is I think it might be actually going off right around the same time as the show. I have to sync everything up. But I'm going to be the Friday show will definitely be about the London Olympics. Triple X, as they're known in cryptography land, the pornographic Olympics. By the way, have you seen the Olympic mascots? These like little stubby phalluses with one eye. That's the mascot. Every year, the London Olympics mascots get more and more abstract, more and more away from anything natural. They become these virtual sort of whatever they are. Bots. I don't know. Yeah. So Friday we'll be getting into the London Olympics for sure, and then Wednesday I'll get into this whole Aurora thing because I'm just amassing the evidence in the aftermath. I saw a picture today of James Holmes. You know, he has the orange hair. He's in court. He looks nothing like the guy that whose photo has been paraded around. You know the photo I'm talking about. He's got the wide smile, the dark hair. That guy looks nothing like that guy. And then if you look at his high school picture, neither of them really look like the high school guy, high school Holmes. It's all very strange. And I've talked about this guy before, Dallas Goldbug, a.k.a. Ed Chiriani, who did some really interesting stuff on the Gabrielle Gifford shooting. And he was able to basically point out that there were a number of, well, shall we say, inconsistencies with the people there with the event, the people that were being interviewed. He essentially figured out that this is a group of actors and that nothing really happened except the judge, the district court judge in that area was killed. But even Gabrielle Giffords was not killed. The evidence that he brings to the table around this is pretty compelling. And then he's able to line up these people as other people from other events in other places, meaning they appear to be a family, right? They look like a family, but they're not really a family. They're actors. This is what he's done with his kind of forensics, right? His virtual forensics. And you look at this stuff and you say, "Oh my God, this is pretty strange. You know, somebody's pulling the wool over our eyes here." And he's done a couple of these scenarios. He did some with Occupy And he did one with Columbine, which I thought was pretty brilliant. And then he just went off the deep end. He started to accuse John Fox, who's the coach of the Broncos, of being Gary Johnson, the guy who's running for president of the United States, as a libertarian. I mean, just really, off the deep end kind of examples. It's almost like we can't really believe his work now. This is how these things happen. It's like there's a credible body of work. There's a credible synopsis, and you go, wow. And then all of a sudden this goes left field. And then you scratch your head and go, what the hell is this now? So, you have to ask yourself, was that the intent all along? More confusion? Or, did somebody take over his business, so to speak? I mean, if you look at Ed Chiriani's background, it's a little sketchy. One of the sketchier parts is that he's worked for a lot of really important, 1% companies. I think he worked for Enron, if I'm not mistaken, did graphics for. He's got a lot of. If you look at his client list, they're all pretty suspect, to be honest with you. Just look at who people are involved with. That's all you got to do. But again, the first series of pieces where he was breaking down these various players, pretty mind-blowing. So are we here with another situation like that with Aurora? Who is this guy, James Holmes? It's convenient, by the way. Very convenient that we really don't have a lot around his past, but there's a lot of questions that need to be asked. This guy was unemployed. He couldn't find a job, theoretically, and he had 6,000 rounds of ammo. He had all these weapons. Where does he get the money to buy that? I mean, look, I work my ass off. I'm not unemployed, but I work my ass off, and I do this, and I do my readings, and I get by with the grace of God and a few people that support my work. You think I could go out and buy 6,000 rounds of ammo, 4 or 5 sophisticated weapons, even if I wanted to? Do you think I could do that? No. And he's unemployed, and I'm working. How does he get that money? That's a big question. Big question. The other question that needs to be asked is, there is a fair amount of media out there where he is, or where there are people that are claiming that there was somebody else involved, that there's a height discrepancy, and there's lots of glitches to the story as to how this whole thing goes down. And there are 2 people whose story pretty much corroborates the opening scene. Apparently, James Holmes, was in the theater, and he got a phone call on his cell phone and went over to the exit door and propped it open, and then somebody else came in, and that's the person that came in with the flash grenades and the guns and the terror. And is the mainstream media talking about these calls? No. Not at all. Nope. Relegated to the backwaters of the wingnut media. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here over the course of the next few days, a few weeks, and I'll comment on it in a much broader sense with a lot more ammo, so to speak. It's a terrible use of the word, I believe, under these circumstances, but a lot more information on Wednesday. All right, so let us move from art imitating life to life imitating art, or something along those lines, and let's bring on our guest for the next 45 minutes, my good friend, Marc Daniels. On our guest for the next 45 minutes, my good friend, Marc Daniels. On our guest for the next 45 minutes. Mark, are you there? Friend.
Hey, Robert, can you hear me okay?
I can. I think you might need to turn down your connection with me on the Blog Talk side. So only have like one window open. Turn down your connection with me because I'm hearing you as a one window open. So yeah. Hold on. Echo.
Keep in mind it's Mercury retrograde, so
I know.
Probably technical difficulties. Actually, you know what? Let me call you right back from a cell phone. I think that'll work better.
Hold on. You know what? Hold on. I can hear you. I can hear you well enough now. You there?
Yeah, but there's a double echo on my end, so I can't really hear you in real time.
Call me from the old cell. All right. Let's go 20th century there.
All right. Sounds good. Call you in a minute.
All right. Yeah, the cell phone is a child of the 20th century. It's a 20th century technology. It's archaic, but it still works. God, cell phones, man. What a noose around the neck. What an anchor around the neck they are. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I think getting rid of my cell phone might be a good thing to do. I might do that. I've been flirting with it over the last 24 hours. Cell phones have become almost like these parasites, these little succubi. They're expensive little succubi to have around. That's what they become. Convenience, by the way, is the Antichrist. Don't you ever forget that. I have a new post up on my website, by the way. It's called No More Sacred Cows. I'll talk more about that a little bit later. All right, let's bring Mark back on. Hey, man.
Hey, is that a little bit better?
Better for me. What about for you?
Yeah, totally. Much better.
Okay, well, good. Well, thank you for calling in and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, well, you have worked extremely hard to get to this moment, Mark. I mean, this record that you put out is.
If you hear that deep sigh I just let out as you made that statement, then yes, I'm in total agreement with you.
So let's talk about. All right, one of the things I wanted to talk about was how long it took you to make this record, and you are kind of old school, and we've talked about this. You wanted to make kind of a big sort of statement record along the lines of like a Springsteen or Mellencamp or, kind of, heartland, gritty, American story kind of record. So how long did it take you to do it, and what was your inspiration to do this?
You're absolutely correct in saying that because one of the things that really disappoints me about music today is that people don't, when I say people, I mean artists, they don't make a concept album anymore like we grew up with in the 80s and even the early 90s. People just seem to want to put out one sexy hit, capitalize on it, and that's it. And to me, it's more of a total work of art type of thing. The actual physical art of the sleeve matters to me. It's I want to do 11 songs that are all cohesive and they all have a theme threading through them. And like you said earlier, I mean, it's been an incredible labor, an incredible undertaking. It's now, I guess, about 5.5 years since the first song from Game of Desire was written. So, yeah.
So, you sat down one day and you said, "Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to hit one out of the park here." Why Game of Desire? What's the story behind that?
Interesting question, because it was actually always titled The Nature of Love, but about 2 months ago, this title kind of crept up on me, and I reached out to my inner circle of friends and confidants, and I asked them what they thought, about Game of Desire versus The Nature of Love. And one of my very good friends, he's actually a doctor of theology up at Boston University. His name's Kevin Johnson. You can look him up on Twitter. He's got The Inner Room, which is his spiritual haven that he is creating right now. But anyway, he had the very insightful return comment to me to say that, Mark, well, first of all, there's two great things by calling the record Game of Desire. Number one is it's an acronym. And
right.
It means God, G-O-D, right? Game of Desire. And secondly, there's a certain pop sentimentality that I want to still be a part of, that people keep saying people again, but musicians are not they're not grasping onto anymore. I think that music pop sentimentality is really lost right now in modern radio. So anyway, that's pretty much the reason why I chose to call it Game of Desire.
Right. It reminds me of that song by Harry Nilsson, Good Old Desk. Do you know that song?
I know Harry Nilsson. I'm not familiar with that particular tune, though.
It's another acronym for God, Good Old Desk. So it's actually Harry Nilsson, by the way. The early Nilsson stuff is just pure genius. I mean, just
you know what I loved about that stuff by Harry Nilsson is his voice.
Oh, incredible!
Like, he's one of those guys that I just think is a pure singer. Like, I think I've shared this with you before too. Another guy that doesn't get enough credit or is seen as a cliche is Willie Nelson. But if you listen to the sound of his voice,
yeah,
and the way he expresses himself, Willie Nelson's a beautiful, beautiful singer.
Well, yeah.
Harry Nilsson was like that too.
Well, they're very different in many ways. I mean, Willie Nelson is just he's just there. There's just such an authenticity with that voice. He's not trying to be or sound like anybody else. It's not your typical classical beautiful voice, but it is. That's
exactly.
That's Willie. And Nilsson had just a pitch perfect instrument, and I think Harry Nilsson might have had a 3-octave range like that. And he could find like a melody within a melody within a melody, and this guy is just a master songwriter as well. So a great talent, and I urge a lot people to check out his early stuff. It's really pretty cool. Let's talk about your voice. Your voice is really interesting. It's a unique voice. I mean, I've had people on the website on Facebook comment on how much they like your voice, and I think what's really important is this whole concept of voice. There's voice as well. Right now, you can hear my voice, right? And then there's the personalized, stylized definition of voice, where you hear a singer and you say, "That's Freddie Mercury," or "That's Bono," or "That's Willie Nelson," right? I mean, that kind of voice is really important, and I think you've got that kind of voice.
I'm really glad you said that and you picked up on it, because it's been one of the big challenges for me is to find that voice, because it wasn't easy. It's taken a long time, and it sort of connects with like a Buddhist principle. Like, when you really center yourself and you get completely centered in your real true self, some great things start to happen. And for me, it was being able to be happy with the voice. Like, there came a point a few years ago where I was like really starting to say, okay, this voice is pretty good. I like this voice. This sounds like Mark. Right.
There you go. Right. Got it. You hit your mark.
There's a lyric by you remember that band Concrete Blonde?
Yeah. In fact, I have the same birthday as Johnette Napolitano.
Oh, you guys are both Libras, right?
We're Virgo Libra. She's born the 22nd, I think, along with me.
Gotcha. Well, one of the lines that she said was, "It took me a long time to find this voice. And she's got a great, great voice.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Joey, great song. All right, let's segue from Joey to Edgar. And
sure.
Edgar's story. Who is Edgar?
Actually, that's an interesting song because it's one of the very few times that I've ever written a song about somebody else's artwork.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a book by this guy called Ed. Actually, the book is called The Story of Edgar Sawtelle.
Uh-huh.
And it was on the bestseller list for a while. It was a little bit under the radar, and I just read that book, and I have always been into literature. I mean, strongly. But one of the great disappointments of my life lately is I don't ever read anything that is totally amazing anymore. I don't know if it's because I don't pursue it harder or if there's just a lack of amazing literature out there. But when I read this particular book, I was absolutely just infatuated with it. So it's basically a character from that novel. It's about a mute boy who grows up on a farm, and he has to use sign language in order to communicate with the dogs that are on the farm, because the farm is actually a farm that raises seeing eye dogs, handicapped dogs,
right,
that help the handicapped, and so that's the type of farm it is. And he grows up on it as a mute boy, and the only way he can communicate with the dogs is with sign language. But he reaches such a level of communication with the animals that it becomes a little bit otherworldly, a little bit mystic. And that's why the book was so fascinating to me. And if you play the track on your show today, maybe you'll get a sense of it.
All right, well, let's jump into it. Let's play Edgar's story, and we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about the track, and then we'll carry on here. Okay, so this is from Game of Desire, Marc Daniels, and Edgar's story. Okay, so that was Edgar's story. That's pretty rocking, man. You there, Mark?
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty. That was a pretty rocking tune. So who played harmonica on that?
Actually, it's a friend of mine from Connecticut. His name's Jerry Vigorito. He's another one of these people that are in my circle, a very spiritual person, and just asked him to come play on it one day. He came down to the studio and he just absolutely destroyed it, you know.
Yeah, no, I know good harp playing. That definitely was on the money. So in the recording process, what role do you play? Are you behind the board? I mean, are you all over the place? Keys over to somebody else?
Actually, my writing partner now we are going on 10 years. I guess in a lot of ways it's my most significant relationship. He's a true, like you would say, like you like to call me a troubadour, but he's like a real true troubadour from the 70s, you know. He's older, 50, I guess he's in his 50s, Paul Opalak, longhillrecording.com. Yeah, we've been writing together for 10 years, and basically the way we write the tunes is I give him some ideas musically that I would like the songs to sound like, a general feel for the songs.
Right.
And he creates an instrumental track for me, and I go home and I spend the next 2 weeks or the next 2 months, whatever it takes me, and I put together a vocal melody and the lyrics, you know, over the instrumental piece, and it seems to be we have a good understanding with each other. Another Libra, just like you.
So, was this analog? Do you guys record analog? Or was it a digital studio?
No, it's completely digital. Yeah, he's also a master of the way studio recording has evolved in the last 10 years with the technology boom. He's right on it, you know, he's right on the edge of it. So that's another blessing that I've had.
Mm-hmm. And so, but you're really into like the whole package, not just the studio stuff, but also like the art and the CD cover, and now people see the image for the record now, and it's not complete yet, right? You've got a new cover for this one, right?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I'm working on the cover as we speak because I just was able to finally, you know, put it all together, and actually I can describe it a little bit to you, and maybe, you know, you and the listeners can get an idea of it. It's actually the front cover is going to be an overcast day. I'm going to be on a seesaw in a playground. Anybody remember those? They actually still exist. There's a couple around here in Philadelphia. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be on the seesaw and I'm going to be elevated. But there's going to be no other person on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was trying to allude with that image is that we're constantly being kind of like weighted by some other force. And it goes back to the name of the record, the God illusion, you know, that some other unseen force is in our life. So that's
right.
what the image is trying to convey. And luckily, I don't know how this happened, it's one of those gifts that the universe gives you, is the Spanish version of Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
The champion actually is a beautiful, beautiful girl called Melissa Pastrana.
Right.
And you can check out her stuff too at www.melissapastrana.com. And she's agreed to be on the back cover because it's such a romantic album. You know, Game of Desire is a really romantic album.
Right.
That's probably the underlying theme of it. So I wanted to include the female energy on the artwork. So she's going to be on the back of the cover, and she's going to be in the opposite position on the seesaw. So as if we're like sort of missing each other, but we're still looking for each other. You know what I mean?
Yes. This conjures up an image of me that I associate with you, which is of Orpheus, and quite possibly Eurydice, who would be your friend on the back cover. You know, Orpheus, if people don't know the story of Orpheus, he winds up going down the underworld to find great love. Eurydice has been taken away from him. He makes a deal with the devil in the underworld. The deal is that she will follow him back up to the surface and rejoin him. He can't look past yes, she is there, and he can't trust himself, and he looks back and she was there, but now she's confined to the underworld forever. And now he's roaming the earth for the rest of his days, lamenting his lost opportunity to be with his beloved. In a lot of ways, man, I know you personally. In a lot of ways, that really resonates with you, this whole Orphic tradition. And, you know, in terms of astrology, I always get getting put down Chiron is sort of moon, especially. So when you make a record like this, does it help you out? Do you get a feeling, or a sense of feeling like there's, you're not as empty when you create a a fully realized vision, or where does it leave you after you've done? I mean, you're not fully done because you don't have the cover, but where does it leave you when you said, I've done this, I've experienced this is my piece? Are you hungry? Do you want more, or is there a sense of more of a sense of recognition and solace when you come to completion?
Yeah, those are questions that I struggle with, and also it just got a little difficult to hear you too. So I'm hearing that little echo again. So I'm going to try to do my best to make sense of what the question is. And what the writing, what it actually does is it pulls you along. It's something that you can sort of like lean on as a way of educating yourself in the subject of yourself. So that's one of the great things about being an artist or being involved in anything creative, is that whatever you're doing, whether it's painting or what you do, it really teaches you who you truly, truly are, like if you're paying attention. So, yeah, the writing, and you've used that Morpheus analogy on me. I don't know if you remember, but Robert did a reading for me 3 years ago, and astrological reading. And I had a new computer, so I had lost the original reading, and I haven't listened to it in a long, long time. And I just recently was able to find it on a hard drive, and I plugged it in, and like 2 or 3 days ago, and everything you said, if you don't mind me giving you a little bit of a plug right now, was so uncannily insightful. I mean, you even gave me exact dates of when things were going to happen and so on and so forth. So if anybody is listening out there who is interested in getting an astrological reading, you got one of the best astrologers in the world right now at your fingertips. Use him. Trust me. He's the real deal, and he knows what he's doing. But to get back to your question of Morpheus and going down into that underworld, yeah, that's exactly what the process has been like, Rob. And I do get the sense, I agree with you, that I'm digging my way out of it right now. And it feels pretty exciting to finally be coming out on the other side of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think it's important. I think art can do that. You know, art can help us realize our fullness.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, well, this sort of, you know, dovetails with another aspect here. It's like, well, why? You know, why do this? Besides the fact that you want to experience some kind of emotional reckoning or gnosis or something like that. I mean, you want to sell a lot of records, you want to tour. I mean, what is there a commercial drive? What's, you know, I mean, maybe you could write poems or write a book. Why a record? Why make a CD? Why go through all of this in a time where it's becoming more and more challenging to make that sort of work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think when you said the word gnosis, you meant Knosis, which means a letting go of, like a disappearance. And yeah, I mean, for me, Rob, it's sort of become a thing, a question of you don't have any other choice. You know, I mean, this is my archetype. This is my soul, if you want to use a word like that. And it's sort of like you really don't have a choice. I mean, you are who you are at the end of the day. And, you know, I am this person for whatever reason. I don't know if I chose this life. Maybe it's a mission. Those are grand overarching themes. I don't know, you know, if I really trust all that. But at this point, you know, the only thing I can say back in response to that question is that I truly feel like this person, like a poet, whoever they are. I mean, one of the most important things that I ever did was discover a poet called Rainer Maria Rilke.
Right.
At a very early age, is a German lyricist poet, and besides his poetry being so profoundly brilliant, is he wrote a little small book called Letters to a Young Poet, and he was probably a little bit advanced in his age at that time, maybe about 38 or 40. And he was writing in discourse back to like a 19 or 20-year-old aspiring poet. And all the advice he gave in that little small work, it made so much sense to me when I read it at age 24 that I just sort of, I don't know, I got caught under the spell, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, Rilke is pretty incredible, you know. His mother used to dress him up as a girl when he was young. You know that, right?
I know that. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. So, hey, Mark, it looks like there's some people from your area code that are calling in, and maybe they want to talk to you. Do you want to take a call?
Yeah, why not? Put them on.
All right, let's see what we have here. Hey, you're on the air with Robert and Mark. Are you calling in to listen, or just or you want to talk to Mark, or, you know, welcome to the show?
No, I wanted to ask Mark some questions.
Okay, cool.
All right, am I on?
Yeah, you are.
I met him in I was in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Uh-huh.
And I had two questions. I saw his Facebook page. My first question, I noticed he's always got tigers, like he's got a panther on one of his music pages, and he's got a tiger on his Facebook page. What's the significance of the cat?
I'm so glad you actually brought that up because it ties into the music. I've been a tiger activist for, I guess, my whole life. I mean, I've been really just drawn to this powerful animal image, and I started a website called Panthera Tigris, where 20% of all the Charlus, my music, proceeds, whatever I sell, 20% of any of the profit goes directly to the World Wildlife Federation Saving Tigers Now program. And I spent a lot of time vetting charitable organizations and making sure they were authentic. And the WWF's program actually seemed, to me, to be the best in terms of like the interest of saving the last, I don't know if you guys know this, but the last 3,200, it's estimated at, remaining wild tigers in the world. I mean, there's only 3,000 left, basically, down from 100,000 at the turn of the century. I mean, poaching with Chinese medicine, purporting that it can cure anything from impotence to, a lazy eye. They believe that tiger bones or tiger blood can cure these things. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's been the main problem, in terms of saving tigers. So we're trying to fight back a little bit. And, I mean, I don't make a lot of money selling music right now, but it is my plan in the future that if I ever do, that it's going to go directly back to saving that cause. It's just something I really believe in.
Doesn't Rilke have a poem called Panther?
It's one of my favorites of Rilke's. It's called Der Panther. Yeah. And it's about a panther that was taken from the wild and put in a German zoo. And it's, what Rilke does is he writes the poem from the perspective of the panther, what it feels like to be the panther inside of the cage. Powerful, powerful, powerful.
Yeah, it's a good poem. Which translations did you read for Rilke, by the way?
My favorite actually is, I will pull it right off my bookshelf right now, Stephen Mitchell.
Yeah, I know Stephen Mitchell.
Yeah, I thought he was the best. My mother's German, so I have that lineage in my blood, and so I know what it feels like to be German. And I thought Stephen Mitchell captured it best.
Okay, we've got another call here. The 203. Hey, you're on the air with Robert Mark. What would you like to ask Mark?
I'd like to know if there's a particular artist that he fashioned himself after.
That's a good question. Yeah, it's actually a good question because I've had the luck and the very good fortune of having an older brother, quote unquote, who's been there for my entire existence, who's a pretty major, I guess, for lack of a better term, rock star. His name is Michael Matevich. He was the vocals in that movie called Rock Star by Marky Mark.
Sure.
He did all the vocals for that. And, he's got his own successes, too. In the late or early 90s, he had I guess it was a top 10 MTV hit called I'll Never Let You Go. He gets pigeonholed into being a hair metal singer, so he doesn't get his proper respect either. But he's, again, another guy who's the real deal with a really, really amazing voice. I mean, some people, there's a big corner of the internet that claim he's the best rock singer in the world right now. So for me to have that in my life, and, him and I are really close. We are, we consider each other brothers. That's been a huge influence. And then, there's the Smiths and Morrissey. I always thought Morrissey was a real poet.
Right. Yes. Another Orphic figure. Let's take another call here. The 413 getting outside of the 203. Hey, you're on the air with Robert Mark. Thanks for calling in. What would you like to ask?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
All right. I'm actually I'm from southern Massachusetts.
Okay.
And I found this randomly. I was listening, and that song I heard was really some 80s enthusiast. It reminded me of like Highway to the Danger Zone. My question to you is two questions. One, do you ever play live around the tri-state area? how many times a week? And then what is your like favorite instrument? Are you piano, guitar, or are you? I guess what's your instrument that you write on?
Yeah, actually,
thanks for calling in.
Yeah, the second part of your question is easier to answer. Piano or acoustic guitar. I think my voice just happens to work with those two instruments really well. I mean, my idea for the next album, whenever that's going to ever happen, probably for me 7 years down the road, but when it does and happen, it'll probably be mostly based in piano and acoustic guitar. It's going to be very my goal is to make it a simply romantic album. That's what I would like to do for the next one. But the second part of your question is actually a little bit more difficult to answer because it's very difficult to organize, 5 guys or 2 guys and 3 girls in a band format these days. And I think Robert was alluding to that earlier, how the dynamic of music has changed now. It's either you're a big major superstar like Lady Gaga, or you're like a guy like myself who's trying to break into it, and it takes
it's like the 1% versus the 99%, right?
Yeah, exactly, Rob. Exactly.
Hey, let's. We don't have a lot of time left, so let's get into another track. Maybe we have a little bit of time to talk after that track. It's Bus Station Anywhere. It's a little bit of a shift in terms of tempo, and I really like this tune. Very soulful, and it has a lot of depth and contour to it. All right, so let's listen to this, and we'll come back. We'll talk about it, and then we'll segue out of the show. Here we go. Bus Station Anywhere. This is from Game of Desire, Marc Daniels. Beautiful, man. That's awesome. I love that tune. Can you hear me there, Mark? Hey, Mark.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, a bit of a glitch. I love that tune, man. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I like that little space we went into after the first verse, and after the second chorus, and then we come into the third verse there. I thought that's a really pretty space, you know.
Yeah, and you're just like a half a tongue movement away from doing the yodel in that track. By the way, you should bust out a yodel.
I got to go to yodel school, man. Where's that, in Sweden?
I don't know. I think there's like a YouTube video for yodeling. You might be able to find it.
Yeah, there's a YouTube video for everything right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I love the mandolin and the pedal steel too. Very nice touch.
Yeah, that's Paul. Paul. I mean, he's pretty accomplished, you know.
Okay, so we're up against it, man. We're almost out of time here, and you've got tons of people that want to talk with you. But so if they want to dialogue with you, they want to reach out to you, they want to find out more about your music, where can they go?
Well, my home site is www.charlus.org. That's CHARLUS. But recently, with the Facebook phenomenon, it seems like a better venue to interact with your fans. So I've been using Facebook more often, and my Facebook is, facebook.com/Charlus Music.
Okay, very cool. All right, Mark, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. You're the best.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that. And it's a game of desire. Marc Daniels, a.k.a. Charlus, and I think to the end of the day, you can download that for free right off of the show page. So, avail yourselves of it. Get it, listen to it, and get into it. All right, Mark, I'll see you out there in the virtual realm somewhere, buddy.
All right, buddy. Take care of yourself. Thanks very much.
All right, you're welcome. That's it, boys and girls. We've reached the end of the show. It's 11 o'clock here. The Sacred 11 in California. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'll be back on Wednesday with Navigating the Astrological Matrix. Thanks again to Marc Daniels, a.k.a. Charlus, for showing up. I'll see you on Wednesday.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point, a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off.